as of August 26, nearly 10 years after the Great Awakening, the first known explorer and survivor of the Great Cataclysm has ventured past the ancient storm wall, segmenting our known world, and has brought back conclusive evidence of a terrifying truth of our forgotten past.
While roaming through the skies, traveling aloft among the clouds, you come across a seemingly abandoned station, one both crumbling due to seemingly accelerated ruin, yet ever and captivating. A towering yet strange-looking station, extruding deep into the clouds below. Atop it sits crumbling rusted frames of 8 powerful railguns, protecting entrenched meter-thick steel bunkered walls, slowly being overtaken by the colorful orange hues of autumn leaves and foliage. As you enter the ruins' bunkered chamber, you come across the remnants of a crumbling, headless, humanoid-shaped robot. Talking with him, he explains that his purpose in being there, next to the sealed entrance, is that he was functioning as a Saborian assistant droid, a part of the Lumen class, whatever that may be. The droid explains that his name is Orto Z87, where you tell him you were looking for salvageable goods.
Oh heavens! Who goes there? Yes, you, don't leave me. Gracious Sonobo, it's a miracle. After centuries of abandonment, beheaded and humiliated, now you! Wait, have they not all ascended? Oh, forgive me my manners. I'm Orto Z87, Saborian assistant droid, Lumen class. How may I serve? Looking for salvageable goods, eh? Oh, there are plenty of goods inside the cargo bay. They exiled my head beneath the spire for refusing entry to the mutineers. Such a mess. Retrieve my head and I shall personally lead you to the goods.
Interestingly, it seems Ortos knows about the Saborian ritual of suicidal ascension, almost as if he were aware of the previous Saborians leaving to go on an ascent themselves. Grappling down, we pass by 4 major automatic anti-airship cannons, seemingly there to prevent us from getting close to Orto's head. We find it completely surrounded by 4 powerful energy walls, the first of which we are able to disengage by locating 4 switches on the outside of the station's crumbling catwalk, which allows us to get to the intersection to communicate with Ortos.
Oh heavens, down here, yes! I'm Ortos Z8. Have you spoken with my body? Poor thing. Its memory stopped the moment they ripped me off. Typical. I assume it did not mention the 4 circuits that you must sever in order to activate this lever. They're just above this section, outside visible if your optics are any good. Near the AA cannons. Now go, cut them cleanly, and once I'm free, do try to follow. That is, I assume my body tempted you with a fair deal for helping me. Us. Good heavens, I'll be whole again.
Going out, we manage to find and sever the energy wall connection that holds Ortos' head inside, where we slowly begin to climb the spire back to the cargo bay entrance near his original body. Upon bringing back Ortos' head to its rightful place, we take down some security turrets as he opens the cargo bay. Entering, we take note of large sums of cargo surrounded by 3 perfect condition weaponized ships, still hovering with their Atlas cores engaged, almost appearing as though they were abandoned right before their use. After entering, we find another message from Ortos from a communication terminal.
Hello? Oh, there you are. It is I, OZ87. An unfortunate situation has occurred where me entering the gate has locked the system. One might say that was a backfire. My circuits got fried, and now I'm trapped in the main light relay framework. At least it was worthy end being united again. Oh, the cargo, right. Computing. Splendid. Well, not entirely. There will be obstacles in our way, however, try to locate the droid docking station. There will be assistance units there, and with your help, I will uplink myself to one of them, and then we go to engineering. Move on.
Moving forward, we encounter another interconnecting chamber between the large cargo bays, as well as a terrible scene surrounding the central chamber, where we find another message from Ortos.
Wait, already? No, hold on. This is not the docking station. Get on with it. Oh, I see. The mutiny. It is rather a somber story, yet quite fascinating if I might say so. Well, it began with the Red Scrimbow. The very name of this fortress was, how shall one say, forced to rescue a ship with the Mandinian Milita, heading north. Forced in the sense that we had suffered great losses, and in order to operate the fortress properly, we were in desperate need of replenishment. In this case, somewhat unwillingly. Yet, we let them in. Oil and water don't mix that well. Now, go on. Go!
Moving inside one of the many central locations of the station, we find a Saborian corpse hanging over the edge of a sealed elevator shaft, as well as multiple connecting chambers. Moving down to the right, we see hallways, as well as a sealed databank that seems to be connected to a power system. Moving down, we find interconnected switches that we use to deactivate some of the station's self-locking systems. Moving back to the central area, we find the energy wall protecting the droid docking station has now been deactivated. Where inside we find multiple other damaged and deactivated droids, alongside another message from Ortos.
There. Good. Finally, pardon. But did you get lost on your way? Okay. In order to access the engineering, we must navigate through the core section. Now, look to your right. This unit is the only one still linked to the framework. The others are malfunctioning. Unfortunately, the unit is stuck to its alcove, which the mutineers seem to have sabotaged. However, I might still be able to uplink myself to it, detach the head unit and guide you down the elevator shaft, where I will dive into the droid service shaft and hopefully open the entrance to the core ventilation system. Now, engage the transfer.
Hearing this, as we move closer to the core, I started to feel as though Ortos was hiding something much deeper. While there was a single body in the central shaft, the sealed-off nature of the station seemed to imply that a mutiny was only part of the story. The very fact that Ortos mentions this, yet as we first meet him, he explains his surprise that we had not already ascended, almost as though the previous Saborians running the station had long since left. But why? Why fight over something so hard to the point of mutiny just to leave it anyway? Regardless, we make it down the central shaft, and Ortos unlocks the sealed door, where we find another communication terminal.
Hello? Alas. Can you imagine the entrance was sealed behind me as I opened the ventilation shaft? And as for now, you were pretty much left by yourself. Sorry, bypassing the various systems is not my specialty. I carry things. Well, according to the framework, I have free passage all the way down to the core. Let's meet there. What? Oil and water? Certainly you're referring to my idiom, but now really, bonds between the Saborians and Bandinians are, well, fraught with conflict. Of course, they started killing each other. The Bandinians fled, and the Saborians ascended. Hurry!
In hearing this, we begin to travel down the pipelines to locate the unlocking mechanism, to explore further down the air shaft. While still being unsure of what exactly Ortos was choosing to leave out, while he mentioned that the Bandinians fled and that the Saborians ascended, it did not explain why the Saborians left, or even why the Saborians had chosen to let another tribe of people into their fortress, as Saborians were top-down fanatics, societally believing that all other races were nothing more than dirt on the floor, and that they alone should achieve a glorious death in order to ascend to their own godhood. It's possible that given the mutiny that Saborians turned on each other in fear of what they would do if they starved within the station, but even that seems unlikely given their belief system, especially in knowing that much of the architecture comprising of the station is almost entirely Gaul in nature. It feels like this station has a greater purpose, one that would make even the most fanatic and intolerant people willing to set aside their differences for the survival of the station. After dragging and unlocking the device to further explore the shaft downward, we take down some more defense turrets and find our way into a surrounding chamber. Some kind of massive energy core that clearly seems to have the main bulk of its connections to other parts of the ship deactivated. It seems as though the activation mechanism switches are somehow turned off or severed. Following Ortis, he flies into a small pocket to try and open some kind of maintenance door. However, it seems he's unable to open it, and instead we have to climb through another air vent. Once in the room, we find what seems to be a series of connected power grids, where one of the connecting cables seems to have been clearly severed by force. Utilizing our electrified grappling cable, we reconnect the grid to fill in the missing powered sections, which instantly jumpstarts the system. Walls of panels begin to open up, showing the light system powering on. Once we reach the middle chamber, we begin switching on power systems to connect directly to the core. Finally deactivating the surrounding chambers and turning on the station fully, we make our way to the previously sealed staircase leading upward, which eventually leads to a small dark hallway filled with pipes, which at the end leads to a hint at what the Saborians were truly doing here. In a darkened hallway, we find sealed chambers of experiments, in particular ones involving the Seraph. Small globs of levitating samples and the Seraph bioweapon with two empty chambers at the far end. Here we find a broken elevator shaft, where we utilize our grappling hook in order to make it to the top. Here we find Orto, who opens a series of massive overlapping bunker doors, guarded by a weaponized defense turret. Here we are led by the drone to a large chamber to unlock. Circling back to where we began, we unlock the one-way switch at the top, which allows us into the massive chamber we seek to explore. Upon entering, we find a true monstrosity, an amalgamation whose concealment was the purpose in diverting all of the station's power reserves to prevent its escape, and likely was the reason for all previous connections to the station being completely severed. Here we deactivate the 3 overlapping mechanisms for fighting this creature, and in doing so we escape into the ventilation shaft full of interlacing pipes which we promptly deactivate in order to escape. Here we gain access to the rest of the ship, as well as the massive cargo in tow. After having discovered the Saborian secret, it's easy to say that these revealed secrets implied the Saborians had involvement in the creation of the Seraph. However, I don't think this was the case, but rather, I believe they are researching it. I think the true reason for why the Saborians let the Bandinis into the station in order to get supplies was that they desperately feared the escape and lost control of a station such as this. What threw me off was the nature of the station to begin with. Well, we've seen in past videos that the Saborians, while somewhat advanced, couldn't ever become nearly as technologically advanced as other cultures like the Gaul. Much in the same way, the Saborian devices seem to clasp or in some way parts use salvage versions of old Gaul tech. It would imply to me that in some ways, the Saborians likely captured this station, or in some other form took it over many years before, and since then have been using it for the very same experiments the Gaul may have once done. As we've come to explore more of what the fortress was, I think it was slowly becoming more and more clear that this station wasn't designed to just keep things out, but rather more importantly, it was designed to keep what lurked beneath in. It's possible that the Saborians wanted to try and research and understand the nature of the Seraph, and that in some ways, from a humanitarian standpoint, it seems they were doing the world a good in the purposeful use of the station. And while it's unclear if Ortos ever truly knew the nature of what happened, while he had been around in the time of the mutiny, one thing is for certain. The Seraph alone are a terrifying and nearly uncontrollable bioweapon, one that in spite of everything has shown us the lengths humanity in its past has gone to forego its existence.